And we'll send you a copy of the tape when.
Right.
Okay, we're rolling.
Right, this is an interview at the Elderwood Senior Center, Hamburg, New York, the 21st of April 2005, approximately 11:45 a.m. Interviewers are Wayne Clark and Mike Russert. Could you give me your full name, date of birth, and place of birth, please?
Frank O'Connor. I was born in Chicago, July 24, 1930.
Okay, what was your educational background prior to entering service?
I had about 1 year of college when I went in service.
Okay. Were you drafted or?
I was drafted.
Okay.
I was drafted in September 1951.
All right, where did you go for your basic training?
I went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, for artillery school, and as soon as that was over, I was assigned to FECOM, Far East Command, and went to Korea.
Now, what kind of artillery were you trained on?
I was a forward observer.
Okay.
I was never near the guns. All my war was done with the telephone.
Okay.
And a radio. We had radios too.
How do you think your training prepared you for
Very
Korea?
well. Very well. I was trained with 220 others at Fort Sill. We went over as a group. We were all assigned to the same outfit as replacements.
Mm-hmm.
And we, of course, all knew one another before we got to Korea. So it was not like going through a replacement depot, which was the experience of a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know anybody, went into an outfit that they were unfamiliar with, and had a hard time getting into the swing of things. There was no problem
Right.
with us because we all went as a group.
Okay.
When were you in Korea?
I got to Korea in March 1952 and left in December 1952.
Okay. What was your equipment like? How did it work in the fields?
We had our choice of either a BC scope or an M1 scope. A BC scope is the two eyepieces with a tube that runs up, and so you're not exposed. You're,
Something like a periscope.
yes.
Mhm.
And the M1 scope is like a telescopic lens on a camera.
Which one did you prefer?
I had the M1 scope. We used that all the time I was there.
Now, was that a personal preference, or?
No, whatever was on your section of the line, you just picked up. When I got to Korea, I thought we were replacements for an outfit that was the 1st Field Artillery Observation Battalion. And I thought when I got there, the guys I was replacing would be there for a week or so and break me in and tell me, because I was the first one to get to the observation post that I was assigned to. They said, "Are you a replacement?" And I said, "Yes, I am." They said, "We'll see you later." And they were on their way. They were gone. So it was...
On-the-job training.
Yeah, on-the-job training is right. But I happened to be the first one to get there because I caught a ride on the tank to get up to the line, and I got there before the others who were assigned to that OP.
Mm-hmm.
There were 4 of us that were on the same observation post for the whole 9 months.
You stayed in the one area for the whole night?
Well, we moved around, but the observation post, the guys assigned to that OP stayed
Mm-hmm.
together.
Okay.
We all were there for all 9 months and came home together on the same ship.
Now, what were your living conditions like? Did you live in tents or bunkers or?
If we were lucky to slow down long enough, we dug a bunker and used that. But sometimes we would just dig a hole and sit in it for overnight or a couple of days. Usually we were able to rig up some kind of a bunker to live in. But we're on the line. It was combat for 9 months.
Was your clothing and footwear adequate for the conditions?
Yeah. The most wonderful piece of equipment that we had from an apparel point of view was the poncho. When an outfit moved, you could tell because there were pieces of equipment on both sides of the road. You never found a poncho, ever. You might find M1 rifles, you might find howitzers, you might find mortars, but you never found a poncho. Poncho was like a personal tent. It snapped down so that only your hand showed. It had a hood on it that was big enough to cover your helmet, and then it had a drawstring so only that much of your face showed. It was rubber coated, so it was waterproof, and you could sleep on it or in it or around it or put two of them together and you could have a tent. It was a wonderful piece of equipment, the best piece we had. You never found a poncho, you never found a canteen, and you never found a mess kit, and you never found a trenching tool. Those were the 4 pieces everybody carried. Never found those things.
Now, what kind of weapon did you have?
I was originally issued an M1 carbine, and after I was in Korea for a while, I was able to pick up a grease gun, a 45 caliber grease gun, and I carried the grease gun for the rest of the time I was there. I figured if I got close enough to somebody, I wanted a major piece of equipment to throw at them, and 45 caliber is a major piece.
Were you under fire?
Most of the time. We were at the Chowan Reservoir for a long time, and then we went over around an area that they call the Iron Triangle, and we were there for 2 or 3 weeks, and then came back around the Chowan again.
Mostly artillery fire or all arms?
We got a lot of artillery fire, but the Chinese were great with mortars. They would put a mortar shell right in your back pocket if you slowed down long enough. They were very good with them, and they had small mortars. They were little mortars. I don't know what millimeter they were anymore, but the shells were only about that big around. But they would give you a hard time with them.
Now, did you change your position often? How long would you say was the longest you were in one place?
Yeah, we were around the reservoir for probably 2 or 2.5 months. I was involved with Baldy there was a hill called Baldy. It was 347. uh, we were there for a long time because the 45th Infantry was going up on Baldy and getting thrown off and up and thrown off, and they must have lost half of a regiment trying to take that hill. And then Pork Chop was right there, and Heartbreak was right there. So we stayed essentially in that area for quite a while. But the Iron Triangle, we went over there to apparently having some trouble with artillery fire, and we were sent over to see if we could stop it.
So basically, the entire time you were in Korea, you were almost under continual fire then.
On the line full time, I got 4 points every month.
Mhm.
So it was a 36-point rotation, and I was out in 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
If you were back on the guns, the guys who were in artillery batteries were frequently 2 and 3 point areas, and they stayed a lot longer than we did. We got out in a hurry. We all came home together.
And you were never wounded?
No,
Did your group lose any people?
we lost a number. A number of OPs were overrun and had some casualties and so on. But we, part of our objective was to stay hidden, not to be very obvious. So if we were taking a lot of fire, we'd move and pick a new spot. But it was I was out in a hurry, so that's the.
What were your rations like? You must have
Sea
had
rations.
very few hot meals then.
Hardly any. Sea rations, corned beef hash. Never will forget corned beef hash. You would come on the line across cardboard boxes filled with sea rations, and there were 2 cans to a sea ration. One was the entree, for lack of a better word, and the other had cigarettes and crackers and chocolate and gum and toilet paper and a whole bunch of things in it. I don't care how many cases of sea rations there were, they were all corned beef hash. I couldn't believe it. There was never anything but corned beef hash. And I hate it to this day. I've had enough.
Do you have any experiences that stand out, particular experiences?
When we left Japan, we left from Sasebo, which is the very far south end of Hokkaido, and went on a Japanese luxury liner across to Korea. And it was a 14 or 15 hour ride, and about 12 hours into the ride, they came around with live ammunition. And I thought that was a real bad sign. I thought that was something that didn't get me excited at all. Then they came around with sample wills, and I couldn't think of anything to leave to anybody other than the $10,000 life insurance policy, which I left to my mother. But I wished I had more possessions in the world to leave. But Korea was a hard place to fight. a lot of mountains, cold, same temperature as here. It's about the same latitude.
Mhm.
It's very cold in the winter and very hot in the summer. It has a shale surface. It's hard to dig in Korea because we're up on ridges in the mountains, and it was rocky and shale and a lot. It was hard to dig. But if you have to be there, you get in and get out as fast as you can.
Did you have any contact with the Korean people, much contact with the Korean people?
Hardly any. The only contact I had with Koreans was with ROC divisions, which were Republic of Korea.
Yes, right. How did you feel about them as
I stayed
fighting
away
units?
from them. Gave them a very wide berth. They took a lot of casualties and would do dumb things. They'd get to the top of a ridge, fight all morning and take casualties, and they get to the top of the ridge and stop and eat lunch. And I thought that was a dumb thing to do, so I stayed as far away as I could. They were not good. They were not well trained. We gave them a ton of equipment, but we wasted it, I think.
Was your unit integrated at all at the time?
No, not at all. In training, there were two blacks, and I don't know, they didn't go overseas with us. I don't know where they went. No, it was not integrated at all. It was the group that I was with was assembled at Fort Sheridan, which is just north of Chicago. And they gave us tests and eye tests and vision and peripheral vision. How far can you see? Can you see my hands and so on? So we were all selected at Fort Sheridan, and then went to Fort Sill for the training. Most of the people in the outfit that I was in were from Wisconsin, Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Iowa. That right around Chicago, Ohio. There were a number from Ohio. We have reunions now, and they're generally in the Midwest. Next one will be in St. Louis. But they were all Midwesterners and all draftees, almost all draftees. There were a couple of regular Army, but only a couple. So it was quite an experience.
How did you feel about the relief of MacArthur? Did you have any feelings about that personally?
That was not something I was following.
I didn't think so.
No.
Now, being on the front lines, I imagine, did you get to see any USO shows at all?
Only one. I was coming down for a shower. We came down for showers and haircuts and to get paid.
How often?
Oh, not very often. Every 5 or 6 or 7 weeks, depending on how busy you were.
Yes.
If it was kind of a lull, guys would come down but I stopped at an infantry outfit that was behind the line and stopped in their mess hall, and Teresa Brewer was the show that afternoon, and stood around and watched that for a while. That's the only one I saw.
Now, you mentioned in this form you filled out that one of the most inspiring experiences was the bravery of the infantry. Why did you say that?
Well, when you watch guys at dusk or late afternoon pulling their equipment together to go out and go across the line and make it their business to draw fire, you've got to be impressed with that. I was impressed enough that I was glad I was in the artillery and didn't have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But that was I always thought that was really a scary assignment. So the infantry, guys in the infantry earned their pay.
When you returned in December of '52, what was your assignment after that?
I went to Camp Atterbury in Indiana, and I went into an easy company, and they assigned me to as cadre. The 31st Infantry was at Camp Atterbury. They were the Alabama Mississippi National Guard, and they were being trained to go overseas. I got to the outfit and somebody said, go out and teach those people how to do the manual of arms with an M1 rifle. And I said, I'm sorry, you're going to have to teach me how to do it. I never carried one. I don't know anything about them. They said, what did you do? And I said, I was a forward observer in Korea. So we have an assignment for you that's different. I taught forward observing. I taught a class from 11 to quarter to 12 or 10 to 12 every day, and that was it. That was my total assignment. We would go out and fire at an old truck, and I could hit it without even being there. But taught the infantry something about artillery is what it was all about. And I was there for 5 months after I got back, because I had only been in a few months. The 9 months and 2 months of basic training. So I was only in 12 months when I got to Atterbury. So I had some time to put in to get out in 21 months. Mm-hmm. And then when I got out, I went back to college. And
now, did you use the GI Bill?
Yeah, oh, sure. Yeah, thank God for the bill. Yes, I went to school till the bill ran out. The bill ran out and I ran out.
Did you join any veterans organizations at all?
I'm a member of the VFW and the American Legion. My family bought me a trip to Washington to see the Korean War Memorial dedicated. And I had recently retired, and when I came back, I joined the VFW and later the Legion. And Orchard Park has a good VFW post. It's a good group that we have there. So I've enjoyed that.
What did you think of the Korean Memorial?
I thought it was great.
Has your ponchos?
Yeah, that's right. The ponchos looked like us. It was. I thought it was great. I thought it was just fine.
Now you've attended reunions?
Yes, I've gone to 2 since I've been retired. I went last year to Milwaukee and before that to Charlotte, North Carolina.
Did you ever stay in contact with anyone that was in service with you?
All the guys who I was with are on the internet now, and we trade filthy stories with one another. I live in fear that my wife will get on the internet.
How do you think your time in the service changed or had an effect on your life?
Well, it made me grow up. I wasn't, I didn't know what I wanted to do before I went in the Army. I wasn't very interested in school, and the Army gave me some direction and really made me grow up. So it was a very positive experience as far as I'm concerned. I liked it in many respects. I didn't like my time at Atterbury, but other than that, I thought it was fine.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for the interview.
Thank you.
Do you have